Hey everybody, sorry I'm a few minutes late here. Welcome to our uh, live with Grandma's Wealth Wisdom. Today we have a lot of exciting stuff coming, especially for today. We just released a podcast and YouTube with Perry Marshall, the 80/20 sales and marketing guy. That was a long uh, YouTube interview with some really amazing knowledge from him. And uh, we talked about this idea of black swans and how this idea of black swan events are like events that happen that we can affect our finances, change everything around our world. And like 2008 was a black swan event. The recession back then, of course, the depression, the dot-com bubble, all those kind of things were like black swan events. And what he said was that there's going to be a lot more black swan events that happen throughout our life, more and more frequently, and that we are in the age of agility. And this age of agility, and especially as younger people, graduate from college, they have to like be able to adapt and move and change uh, faster. And our systems are very archaic and falling apart, basically. And how we need to have agile systems in place to be able to uh, weather the storms that come, whether we are in a depression, whether we're in a recession, whether we're in whatever. That's what we need to do. So, anyway, today I have a special guest. His name is Sarry Ibrahim, and he is a colleague that works alongside us and knows how powerful the systems that we work on are, not just for him, but for his clients. And, I don't want it to just be me and Amanda sharing all the amazing stuff that we do and how it's affected us. But, we want to bring on guests that um, can provide value to you guys. So I'm going to invite in Sarry into the stream, and then he's going to share. We're going to go back and forth, ask some questions, and I want you guys, as you interact, put some questions in the comments. If you have some questions, of course, add it, and then of course, like and follow the channel, like and follow Facebook, whatever, do all that stuff. That always helps. So. Cool. Well, Sarry, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what do you do? How did you get into this crazy world that we're in now?
Yeah, definitely. So my background was in Medicare for like about 5 years before this. I was helping clients choose Medicare plans like Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage plans, and one of my clients asked me to help him with life insurance. And I didn't really know much. I had my life insurance license, but I didn't know much about life insurance. So I just went on Amazon. I wanted to read a book about life insurance, and I came across Pamela Yellen's book, The Bank on Yourself Revolution.
Yeah.
And got that book, and I really liked it, not just from the agent side, but also from the consumer side. So then I got my own Bank on Yourself policy and became a Bank on Yourself professional. So I've been doing this for about a year now, and I really enjoy it. I really like helping people with the unconventional, not your average financial solutions, things outside of what people, usual stocks, bonds, mutual funds, things that have better returns or better guarantees, should I say.
Yeah.
And it's been a really good, it's been very rewarding so far.
Nice. Yeah, and you work alongside Mark Willis. I think you work closer to him than we do, both proximity and in general, since we moved to Ohio. So our mentor's name is Mark Willis, and you guys might have heard of him before. You might have seen him on the show. He runs a podcast called Not Your Average Financial Podcast. So really awesome. If you guys can check out his stuff, I highly recommend it. So you wanted to talk about something really like focused, and it's this idea of good debt versus bad debt. And I'm going to let you take it from here. And then again, as you guys join, if you have questions, put it in the comments. I'm going to be moderating and answering any questions you have. And we want to put Sarry in the hot seat, so I want him to, he's going to have to answer your questions. So go for it, right? So this is the way to learn. So
Right.
Here we go. I'm going to add the slideshow here as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I kind of came across this idea, this subject, good debt versus bad debt. And, first of all, there is a difference, right? There's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And I think not only is there a difference, but it's important to differentiate the two. People that are really wealthy are really good at differentiating the two. And it kind of opens up, after doing more research on this and applying this with Bank on Yourself, it's opened up a lot of new avenues and new ways of thinking, a new mindset. You can go to the next slide, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and just like in the title, good debt versus bad debt. So good debt. So pretty much think about it this way. Think about your financial goal, your objective, whether it's retirement, your business, if you're a real estate investor, pretty much write out your financial objective and then ask, if I use debt, will debt help me get there and help me capitalize on that financial objective? Or will it interfere with it? If it interferes with it, it's bad debt. And if it helps you capitalize on it, helps you get there, helps you increase that objective, it's good debt. And to kind of dip a little bit deeper, an example of good debt would be nowadays with interest rates being so low, you can leverage, low interest mortgage over a long period of time, like 30 years, and then be able to capitalize on that money, have liquidity somewhere else in your business or other investments that you might do. And then, of course, bad debt would be credit cards, high interest credit cards. They're bad because, number one, the cost of capital is expensive. It's a recurring expense, and it's gonna kind of eat your bottom line. Another reason why it's bad too is because bad debt, that kind of debt interferes with your credit, with your credit history. It's gonna interfere with your ability to refinance, do other things. So it's gonna get in the way of your financial objective. If you go to the next slide, please.
Oh, well, I would say I've been in both camps, and at some level, I'm having good debt, and maybe a house, right? Maybe depends, and then bad debt. Whenever I had our business, we had a lot of credit cards that we were trying to take care of, and sometimes you need cash flow to happen, and sometimes you need credit. But then if you're able to leverage the credit in a way that you can have a bigger ROI, return on investment, and be able to use that positively. But then oftentimes that bad debt is like the drag, right? Even student debt might be, sometimes it could be considered good debt, and sometimes it could be considered bad debt, depending on if it's generating you money. Too many people, I feel like, go to college and then they're in a different career than they started in. And so then what would you say? Is that good debt or bad debt?
I mean, I would measure it by what you got out of it. So if you got student loans and you weren't able to, get a direct ROI from that or directly benefit from that, I would consider that bad. It all comes down to the objective, right? So if I write out my objective and then I use debt to get to that objective and it works, or verse, I write out the objective and then use debt and it doesn't get me there, then that's how I kind of measure it,
So Dave Ramsey says all debt is bad debt. What would you say there?
I'll prove him wrong actually on the next slide. So this was from Mark's podcast, Not Your Average Financial Podcast, and it was one of his clients. It's the title of this episode is episode 91, Giant Piles of Cash. And pretty much this client, as you can see the numbers right here, 61, had a single premium whole life policy. So one-time payment, used $211,000, and then instantly had $196,000 in cash value and a death benefit of $448,000. But Brandon, let's just change this example. Let's just say this was at age 62. Now, why is age 62 significant here in terms of giant piles of cash? What does that trigger in your mind, age 62?
That's probably, I guess, retirement or second year.
Yeah, or reverse mortgage maybe.
Oh yeah.
And that could be an example of utilizing good debt. So let's say this client is 62, was able to use $211,000 and fund a policy while having this reverse mortgage, and then can instantly have a cash value of 196,000 and death benefit of 448,000. But now you might think, why would I do that? Why would I go backwards and get into debt when I already had my home pretty much paid off, like a lot of 60-year-olds who have their homes pretty much paid off? And the reason why is, imagine you had, a personal financial tracker. On the left side, you had all your assets, like your checking, your savings, money market, cash value, life insurance. Your cash flow is all on the left side. And the right side is all your debt, your mortgage, student loans, credit card, whatever the case might be, personal debt, whatever the case might be on the right side. Now, conventional wisdom, or Dave Ramsey might say, we want to put an X on the right side. We don't want anything on the right, the negative side, the debt side. We want to capitalize, not even capitalize on the left side. We want to just keep the left side, but eliminate the right side. Now, in this situation, when we take out a reverse mortgage, we're going to add to the right side, right? We're going to add to the negative side. But what else are we doing to the left side? We're adding to that. We're adding $196,000 in cash value on the left side and a death benefit of 448,000 that's going to consistently grow. We're also going to earn interest and dividends every year on this cash on the left side. So that means if I'm on the right side and I'm willing to take one step backwards on the debt side to take 2 or 3 steps forward on the left side, I'll do that. I'll continuously do that. I'll take one step into debt to take 2 or 3 steps into the opportunity side, the left side, my asset side.
I think this is good. I mean, again, looking at that and seeing how it's helped people, especially let's say you have a lot of, you come into a lot of money. And I've done this with a client, $100,000. And they had $100,000, put it into the policy. They didn't have $100,000 in cash value. And this is, again, they would access this as a loan, but they have 22 to 25% interest on a credit card. They would then use that credit card or use the cash value to pay off the credit card and then pay themselves back. And their money's growing as if they never touched it. And they then, and they'll have this death benefit minus the whatever they've used for the loan. But if they just paid that $100,000 to their debt, they would have lost out on $300,000, right? Or whatever that is. And so there's that gain that they get. So anyway, I totally get you there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just about that negative side of your balance sheet. It's also about, the plus side of it too. Like, what am I going to get out of it? So this is where the bank on yourself way comes in, and like how you and Amanda mentioned with the Snow bank method, right? You can kind of do both and leverage both. And if you can go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
Yeah. So this one, I'm sure a lot of the listeners have seen this before. Again, from your average financial podcast, and you also have this in one of your podcasts, where let's say that year one right here, I'm gonna borrow $20,000 to pay for a car. I'm negative 20,000 now, and let's say that I pay it back over 5 years, excluding interest. I'm back at zero now, right? I paid off, so I went from negative 20 to zero, and I do so again. And this is how I buy cars, or this is how I make large purchases. I borrow. And then let's see the Dave Ramsey way. Let's say no debt at all. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Well, this is, you get to scream I'm debt free here, don't you? Right there. Is that the way? Or no, that's where you're saving.
Oh yeah, exactly. This way right here would be the conventional no debt way. So never take out a loan, just use only your savings. So I'm going to save $20,000 over the course of 5 years right here, and then buy a car, and then go down to zero. And I'm going to save again, same thing. I'm going to save for my next car up to 20,000 and then buy it. And it doesn't have to be a car. It could be any purchase. But the point is, what do these two have in common? the saver and the debtor? What do they have in common?
Well, you get back to zero. That's where I think it's crazy when we do the Dave Ramsey "I'm debt free" scream. I'm like, you're back to when you were born at zero. That's kind of what you're screaming, and I would rather, scream something a little more like, I'm a millionaire, maybe. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I do think having debt, bad debt, consumer debt, we don't want to have that. But I do think we want to figure out a way to build wealth, and there's a difference between both.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Yeah. And of course, right here, sorry.
There you go, the wealth. I didn't even see that there.
Yeah, this slide right here this is the cash value growth of the policy, right? And then when I borrow, let's just say I'm right here and I borrow for a car, and of course I'd have to capitalize the policy. It's not magic money. I'd have to capitalize it. But let's say right here I did capitalize it, and I borrow, and then I'm paying it back. By the time I'm done paying back this loan right here, my cash value is greater than where I started. In other words, the cash value of the policy eventually in the later years will outpace the loan. It's going to outpace the loan balance. So my financial core, the cash value in the life insurance policy is going to exceed, and it's going to grow. It's going to outpace what I'm paying in interest to the insurance company. Now, if you want to comment on this.
I would say I've done this. So I've been on the paying off debt and I've used my policy to get out of debt, consumer debt. And we just bought a house, right? And so what I did was I used 20% from the policy to put a down payment on my house. Now I have a 30-year mortgage, and I'm going to pay off my policy before I pay off my mortgage. I'll probably maybe never pay off my mortgage. I don't know. But so I went down, right? I literally went from having, this, and we're building, and then I went down a little bit because I took a loan from that. But now I'm building it back up, but my policy is still growing. And I'm a few years into it, so it's more like here. And I love seeing that. I like to see my net worth go up, and all the other stuff. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have a mortgage now. I'm working on it, but I think once I do, I probably will never pay it off either. I would rather capitalize in certain areas, keep the liquidity rather than tying it up in the drywalls of my home.
Yeah. Well, and I used 20% down from our policy, no more than 20%, and no less than 20%, because do you know why we choose that 20%?
Because you don't have to get mortgage protection insurance.
Yeah. And do you know what that mortgage protection insurance is for?
If you die, to cover the mortgage.
For who? Who gets that benefit?
The lender.
Yeah. So they believe in this concept, apparently, so much so that they make you pay for it.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, why would I have them get the benefits of me dying? Why wouldn't I have the benefit? So anyway, that's kind of why I think that's questions to be asking. So, so what's here?
Yeah, so pretty much, we went through the good debt versus bad debt and talked about how a whole life insurance policy can help you leverage good debt and even help you, like you said, mitigate the bad debt. You can use the cash value of the policy to pay down credit cards to kind of get out of that bad debt and shift into and capitalize your bank on yourself policy to take advantage of good debt, right? And of course, besides the good debt, bad debt, there's other benefits of a bank on yourself policy. Like in a lot of states, the cash value is protected from creditors and predators. There's asset protection with these cash value life insurance policies in a lot of states. Also, the tax benefits. If I'm in, for example, the 37% tax bracket, and I use a bank on yourself policy, I can fund the policy and convert over to the 0% tax bracket. So now when taxes go up in the future, and they will go up, of course, in the future, when taxes go up, I'll be covered. I'm gonna be in the 0% tax bracket, and the gains, of course, in the whole life policy are not taxable under current tax law. Another reason to save money. So we could do all this. We could leverage the good debt versus bad debt without having to risk the bottom line, without having to risk the core, right? Because the cash value, the life insurance companies are regulated differently. 60 to I think 80% of their portfolios in the bond market, they've been providing dividends for over 160 years. So that's something I can kind of look forward and say, my money is going to be safe and it's always going to grow regardless of what happens in the economy. Regardless if there's another pandemic, the cash value is still going to be growing. The death benefit will still be growing if structured properly, right? And then back to the whole mortgage thing, liquidity. If I own a home, right, and I have the option for a HELOC or a refinance, I would rather take that option, fund the whole life policy, and keep it liquid rather than tying up, cash in the drywalls of my home. Bank on yourself policies are very liquid. You can access 85 to 90% of the cash value at any time via loan, no questions asked. Just fill out the form and you get it. So that means that my safe money, my tax-free money, is also very liquid too. And then, of course, integration. What I mean by integration, Brandon, is that I don't have to choose either I save for retirement or I pay down my debt or I start a business or I invest in real estate. I can kind of connect all those together, capitalize my bank on yourself policy, and then use those for different areas of my business and life,
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking to a client today, and he's like, well, what happens if I switch businesses? Or what happens if the market does this or that? So this is a wealth stabilizer. And so let's say you are not a car salesman anymore and you go into real estate, or vice versa, real estate, something happens with the real estate market. You're able to use this cash value for whatever that business is. And that cost of money is a lot cheaper than, and again, being in the business world, you're needing cash to get through an economic crisis. So what scares me right now is a lot of businesses are racking up credit card debt to get through this hard time without money coming in, because they're dependent on the banks to get through, and or even like a mortgage. So what is possible here is, okay, so you could use the policy, and there's not going to be anybody coming after you if you don't pay it. I mean, I think it's important to pay yourself, but you have that flexibility as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's a good point. Yeah.
So how can people find you? And then we'll open up. We have a few people listening. How can people find you if they want to reach out?
So they can go to finassetprotection.com, FIN assetprotection.com.
Let me put that in here too. I'll put this here just for fun. See, Fin Asset Protection. You put that in the chat here and make sure that it works. You're gonna usually me or Amanda are working this together, so I'm doing both, which is so much fun. And what would you like to, if someone were thinking you're nuts, you're crazy for doing this, or they just come across this channel, what would you like to leave people with to say, to give them some hope in the midst of this crazy world? Like, maybe it's not so much about good debt versus bad debt. It's like, hey, I need to survive. What would you say to the listener of how to prepare through this crazy pandemic we're in, crazy crisis. Give us some hope in the midst of all of this.
It's about the mindset. It's about your mindset. It's more of it's literally mind over matter. It's more about your mindset than the actual money that you have. It's shifting into learning more about actual money and coming across these unconventional, not your average financial strategies that will help you get through the pandemic and other, rough times in your life. It's more about your thinking process, your mindset, what you actually know about money than the actual money that you have.
Awesome. And anything else you want to say to our listeners before we end?
No, I mean, we went through a lot, and I really appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining. Go again, hit the like and subscribe. I want to show we have the YouTube channel, of course, and some really good stuff coming in the pipeline. So be excited. And again, remember, it's up to you to take charge of your financial future. Like, we are here for you. We want to serve you. But ultimately, it's about you as the individual and making sure that you take charge of your own cash flow, leverage your own assets, and you break through to a smart, stable financial future. And that's, again, don't put that onto somebody else. Take control of that to it for yourself and for the people you care about. So continue to be awesome, guys, and we'll see you again next time.